Hello, beloveds. I am so honored and delighted to be welcoming our very special guest, Jaime. Jaime is a dear, dear friend of mine of at least 15 years now. And this is her second time on the podcast. Her first one was on leadership, which was incredible. Welcome, Jaime. So happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here, and it has evolved since I did it last time because we didn't have the video last time. So it's nice to be able to do your podcast and see your beautiful face.
Oh, and I feel so grateful to see your beautiful, radiant self. And Jamie and I go back about 15 years ago when Jamie was running Pacific College Oriental Medicine and invited me to the school to do Feng Shui. And then it evolved into the training coming online. And then now you're working at Chopra Center. And well, actually, we were having a good giggle because we recorded a soulmate course together about 12 years ago, and, actually, do you wanna hold up your CD?
Oh my god, yes, because I had made a CD and then you had done a course too. It's a little
So
glare, but you can kinda see
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And you're so amazing. So we taught this course together, and that was about 12 years ago, and then I love it. We just our paths always just keep weaving together. So here we are, and I'm so honored to have you here, and I know you're doing amazing, amazing work, and I've just always loved and admired who you are and your sense of freedom, adventure, creativity. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that. At first, when I was like, "Hey, do you want to come on the podcast?" You studied feng shui. Was it about 5 years ago now? You took the
Yeah, yeah.
but the thing
Yes.
is you're a doctor, an acupuncturist, and Chinese medicine. I mean, you're so gifted. I know you've been studying Ayurvedic medicine for many years. But when I first was inviting you, I was thinking, okay, I'd love to hear, since you've taken the training, what has it evolved for you and kind of how you've integrated that into your life, home. So how about starting there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for that training because it really tied a lot of things together for me in my life. Because I studied Chinese medicine for many years. I am a doctor of acupuncture. And then I left that field to go to Chopra Center, which is now Chopra Global, which is Deepak Chopra's, global healing brand. And when I went over to Chopra Global and I started learning a lot about wellness and learning about self care practices, Ayurveda, like you said, um, I felt like, where is my voice in all of this? Where do my passions lie? Right? Because I have always felt I was a healer, but I hadn't yet found the right tool for transformation. Like I loved the theory of Chinese medicine. Of course, I loved the practice of it, but I didn't find that being a practitioner was right for me. Leadership was more of the way. But there was a sense that I still wanted to have like a healing modality. And what feng shui did was bring it all together for me because I feel like, well, first of all, feng shui is something that I think is easy to share and easy for someone that you're sharing it with to be able to be empowered by it. And what I mean by that is like with acupuncture, it's hard to give someone a needle to move the energy in their body themselves,
Mm,
right?
great point. Yeah.
But with feng shui, and you teach somebody a little bit about the energy of their home and how making small shifts can make huge improvements. And now you've really empowered someone to do it for themselves. And that was something that was really important to me. So learning feng shui in your course and applying it and integrating it with all the other wisdom traditions that I've learned was the missing piece for me personally, because again, because of that sense of empowerment, but because I've always been drawn to the home, to design, but very much the home experience. So it was again a missing
Like
piece for
I've been in and out of when you used to live Mission Hill wasn't Mission Hills, it's just down from Mission Hills
yeah.
and North County. And like I just remember like you literally step into your home, and first of all, you have mastered the feng shui. It's like you're getting this embrace, but the creativity and the expression, the beauty, what you've created in every home that I've ever been in is so magical. But it's also who you are and how you dress and how you show up in the world. Like I get to witness it in all ways. And I love the way you're just so amazing. It's like, yes, I'm going to be a doctor in acupuncture. Yes, I'm going to, and you just like glide through with so much
It
grace and beauty, all of these beautiful modalities that you just, and and I love it because you've been gathering. And it's like, okay, what is the one and I love that you say that with feng shui, that it brought all together. And it's so true because it is so empowering. It isn't going somewhere and a doctor giving you a pill or
Right.
somebody saying the acupuncturist has to put the needle in, and then you've left and yes, you might feel better, but you're not really empowered that new knowledge. Whereas every day and every second you're living in your home, you get to consciously choose. I love that. I love that.
Exactly. And we spend so much time in our homes, especially since the pandemic too. So you have this, like I like to say, you have this tool for transformation literally at your doorstep. That's
Love,
like what my little tagline about it,
I love you
it's
have such a way with
true.
words. I love it.
But it's really true. And I've had to spend some time thinking like why am I so drawn to the home? And it's been really interesting, like doing some self-inquiry myself on like why I have this affinity to using this particular tool. And I just thought it's not actually that surprising when you think about I come from the Jewish tradition, like I'm of Jewish origin, and the Jewish people, we were displaced throughout our entire lives, right? And if you think of like intergenerational trauma and generational trauma that's brought down, it's not surprising that I've kind of been searching for this
Yes.
sense of home, and I think also it's a metaphor that a lot of people, they don't have to be Jewish, that relate to, that like when you feel displaced or disconnected, that you're really searching for that core sense of home, the whether it's externally or internally, that place that like offers some stability in
Mhm,
your life.
mhm.
So it's so interesting why we are drawn to things when you think through that.
It's so beautiful and it's so true. It's like, and we all really want to feel like we belong. And
Yes.
like that we have that sacred space, no matter what's going on out there in the world, we can step in and feel at home within ourselves in our space. And you and I kept like threatening to press record when we were chatting earlier because we just kept on and like all this juiciness was going. I was like, can we just press record? Because
I'm
you
like, blah, 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 blah. You're like, Jamie, we should start the podcast.
here we are. So I thought it was really, really beautiful when you shared with me when you woke up in the middle of the night. And if you would
Yeah.
share that story with us, how powerful that is.
Yeah. So, I've been practicing what you shared with me, what you taught me in feng shui for many years now. Um, but in the past year, I've been pulled to share my own interpretation, my own version of some of what you've shared with me. And I actually do want to talk about, how much reverence I have for the practitioners that are practicing very traditionally, and how I always recommend that if people want like a traditional feng shui using the compass, that they should see someone who's doing that, because I've evolved a little bit with that, but I have so much reverence for traditional feng shui practices. Anyway, so about a year ago, I was having a really rough moment in my life. And I woke up in the middle of the night. I suffer from panic disorder. It's not something that I'm ashamed to share. I share it quite generously with people because I believe that there should not be stigma around that. It's really about the tools that are available, whether that is medication or meditation, whatever it may be, to deal with those things in our lives. Anyway, I'd woken up in the middle of the night with feeling some panic. I was alone. My husband wasn't home that night. Um, and something in me called me to walk around my home. So I got up in the middle of the night and I just walked. And when I was walking, I was looking and I was taking in my home. And I realized how I had created a home that was an expression of myself. And what that did was it brought in that inner power, that inner stability. It like connected me to that sense of myself. And so I realized like that my home was kind of calming me, really. It was healing me in that moment. And so I calmed down because, when you see like your books on the bookshelf or anything that you intentionally brought into your home, it's like, that's right. I know who I am, right? I know this is who I am. And that just gave me such great comfort. And it was from that moment that I was like, I really want to share this with other people. And so that's why what I share right now is really about, and you did teach this in your course, but really delved very into the intentionality of design. So when you're picking certain pieces of decor or design, what does it mean to you? How is it a reflection of yourself? And so, from there and all the studies that I've done, I've created this method, which is called the Illuminista method. And it's all about self inquiry for self expression. And the intentional design is just one way that you can express yourself, but it all starts with knowing yourself, asking yourself questions, spending time in discovering who you are, and then expressing it into the world. And then it's like this virtuous cycle because the more you express it, the more it supports that inner strength. And then the more sure of yourself you are. And then again, it just continues the cycle.
I love that. I love that so much that you were having a hard time. And then it was like, it's like the beauty. And for you, I know that's a huge expression, having witnessed your home and your style. I mean, girl, you got style.
Thank
Take it to a
you.
whole other level. And I love that this is what you have created, like from your heart and soul. Like, and so to see all these beautiful bits from a place of self-love and empowerment that you've consciously chosen, whether it's this beautiful chair that you're sitting in or this gorgeous piece of artwork behind you, or just
Oh,
seeing.
yeah, like, so this piece of art, Amanda, like, granted, you can see the reflection, which Amanda taught me, I should probably put just a flat canvas behind me so you don't get the reflection. Really good tip for all of you that she shared with me. Sorry, I was sharing your pro tip with
Oh,
all the
God,
listeners.
I love to share.
But the reason why I love this picture and that, like when I'm on Zoom calls, whether it, is with Chopra or whether it's with, an individual clients or whatever, I love it because it's a home. And so
Mm,
I found this piece for like $5 at a vintage
you
sale.
too, not to mention that business. I don't think it's still going, but they used to do, right? Where you were used to.
Yeah, I used to sell some vintage in the
Yeah.
past. I don't sell it anymore. It was that was like a labor of love for sure. But I still collect. I still collect vintage. And so I got it for like $5, but I loved it because if you see it's a home. And so for me, that's intentional. That represents,
Oh,
what is important and what I'm passionate about.
that's so beautiful. And I feel like I recognize the home. Is that a home that is in the
No,
house?
I,
I feel like I recognize it. Well, that's
maybe you do know this home. Maybe you have some connection to this home.
well, it
We're
wouldn't
so
surprise
we're
us.
so connected. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, and you'll, find it on the address on the back. I totally get what you mean. And as an expression of me, I live in the country. So for me, when I'm like feeling out of balance or if I'm feeling good, and I just look and I go out to the backyard and, I've just planted cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers and all sorts. And then I've got these little hens and they're like, "Ah," and they're clucking around. I've got purple ones and red ones and black ones and white ones. And they just bring me so much joy. And so if I'm out of balance, I just gotta watch these girls clucking around for 2 seconds or go out and grab a tomato and I'm like, all is well in the world.
'Cause that's an expression of yourself, your soul, your spirit is coming through like that, those clucking chickens.
A juicy tomato. But I love it because it is like that's your expression, knowing and loving you. And there's lots of other expressions too. And that's one of my expressions. And there it is right there. Like, and not that it needs to be something outside of us, but how beautiful to know that we can bring these items or these beautiful plants or these beautiful animals into our lives and homes that give us so much comfort.
Yeah, I actually think it's a really good point you say that, like, yes, it is outside of ourselves. And I think, like, during the pandemic, a lot of people learned about the importance of meditation, being still, taking time for themselves, and going inward. Right. And I think where the needle needs to be thread, though, is then how you take that and express it outward. Because otherwise, then the outward expression of life that you're living is still having this like external locus of control, or like you're still looking outside of yourself to say, oh, how do I, spend my days? How do I decorate my home? I'm just going to look on TikTok and see how some influencer is doing it, right? But like all the people out there, and hopefully there'll still be more that learned about like meditating or learned about going inward during the pandemic. There is I think a next step, which is then like, how do you take that and be that all the time in your outer world, you
I
know?
love that. I love that. And I truly, truly feel that, you hear a lot, this new worth, this new level of consciousness. That's real because this ability for people to access that level of consciousness is at a whole new level. So because so many more and a lot of, meditation, everything is so now more mainstream that it's accessible. And it's like that consciousness. I mean, we already know it flows through us and is around us and, is who we are. And we look into each other's eyes. That is source. And at the same time, I like, yes, that was like a dark night of the soul, COVID for many, right? And then we have that rebirth. So then it's coming into the light. And then I love that. So it's like, okay, we've made all this space, we've done all this healing, we've like from the
Yes.
inside out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, how am I going to express that? I'm going to express that through the people I bring into my life, through what I create in my space, how I show up in the world, how I dress myself, like all of
Exactly.
that, is that. So I love it. I love it. So tell us more about that. Because you said it's about being curious and asking questions. So for everybody listening right now, because I love that and I want to hear more, what are questions that we should be asking ourselves?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is simple questions. You can start with simple questions, and I think journaling is such a great technique for this. And there are so many, prompts. I have some, questions that I do share with people, but questions like, what is my favorite thing to do every day? You know, what did I love to do as a kid? What do I still love to do those things? What if I could do anything, on a Sunday, like what would that be? Who do I admire the most in life? Just like simple questions. Starts like so simple because no, we don't often take the time to ask ourselves about those things again. We just take for granted. We go through our lives, we go through our jobs, we, interact with our families, and we just don't necessarily take like 5 minutes to just say, like, and journal and say, let me just ask myself, like, check in with myself, like, what, what resonates with me? What do I feel like is in alignment? Also, I think it has to do with checking in with how we feel too. You know, um, I think there were so many years for me where I realized that I had lost touch with, you know, my true feelings about things that I don't know if you have found this too, but I went through a period where it was maybe a little bit of toxic positivity in my life. Like, I don't know if you've ever felt like that
Spiritual
you've gone through
bypassing. It's all
spiritual
love
bypassing.
and light. It's all love and light. But then we're ignoring half of, like there's a
Yeah.
full new moon, there's a winter and a summer.
Exactly. I'm like, I lost the Tao, I lost the balance. I just like, and I will admit it like fully because I think we learn from our
Yeah,
experiences and we share them. And, but yeah, I felt like I was like, okay, if you focus on the positive and just only have this and, just love and light.
doesn't work
Um,
out. And the universe just keeps going. It doesn't, Amanda, as much as you'd like it to be. It doesn't. Then it's like, okay, I'll feel what I need to feel. I'll move and do that work. So
And I just feel like it's so important. So one of the things that I think is part of self inquiry is, how do I feel about that? Like, does, even if you do, you could start identifying the actual feelings, but you can also just say like, does that feel good? Like, does that feel good in my body? Like, does that feel good to me? Or is that more of a displeasurable feeling? Not that like the world really is doesn't really have this dichotomy. We know it's more gray than that, but for when you're starting to feel your feelings, it's
Yeah,
not about placing like a judgment of saying like, oh, good or bad. It's just like just starting to like
absolutely.
acknowledge
Yeah,
that you have like a reaction to
yeah,
things. We all may be one, I'm saying that with like quotes. We all may be one, but we're all having these human experiences, and so to get in touch with how we personally feel about it, I think it helps us to be more embodied as well. So
yeah,
that's part of like the
yeah.
self inquiry process. And I know that that may not seem like it has to do with like intentional design or
Oh,
anything, but
absolutely it does because
I guess you understand. But
that's where we even come from with that. And it's like constantly consciousness, our physical bodies, our emotional bodies, our mental body, our energetic body is communing with us. If, as you say, we take that time to just pause and listen and be willing to ask the questions rather than just floating through life and everything's love and light. It's like, actually, I felt really tight in my stomach there when
exactly.
that happened or that, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to ignore that. I may have ignored those things in the past that really didn't serve, and it's just really becoming aware of the subtle energies, the inner voice. And every time you do that and you listen to your intuition or you listen to that sensation, that tightness in your throat or whatever in your chest it may be, it's like that's a sign and that's your guidance. And then that volume turns up and then there's all those outside voices like, okay, don't worry about it. Like just do it. Like whatever, society, families have thrown at us to just that we get to create our own path and what is truly authentic to who we are and how we want to experience life.
That's why I love that, Marie Kondo's method went mainstream, or like at least the part of the method where she talks about, only keeping the things that spark joy for you. Because what that requires people to do is ask themselves, how do I feel about this? You know? And I think what feng shui does or intentional design does, is it's kind of that next step. It's like, okay, you've kind of cleared it out. Now what you bring in or what you keep, like, when you bring in new items or if you want to change something, it's like asking yourself, okay, well, how do I want to feel with this piece? And does that piece actually evoke that feeling in me?
I love that. I love that. And it's like, does this piece bring me joy? How do I feel when I touch it? But then it's
Exactly.
ooh, it brought up a memory, a person, a thing, or an experience, a thought or whatever. And it's like, okay, and a lot of people are like, well, do I need to get rid of all this stuff that's from my past? And it's like, well, if that's really that's you, that's your inner guidance.
Yeah, how do you feel about it when you see that piece? If it was the bed that you and your ex-husband were on, for 20 years and you separated, and that does have an emotion for that particular person, then they may decide that that's not the piece they want to keep in. For someone else to be like, "Oh, I don't have an emotional reaction to that at all. It's just my bed and I think it's beautiful and I love it," or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly, and so that is completely unique to you, that you experience your home, but nobody else can tell you those things, and I think that's the beauty of conscious design, intentional design, feng shui. It's like it invites us, doesn't make us, it invites us to be curious, to inquire, to actually ask ourselves the questions versus, just living with things.
Yes. Or I mean, again, I can't tell you how many people are just like, "I don't know what to do, but I saw this, like, little hack on TikTok," and so like, I thought, "Oh, I was gonna just." I actually had someone tell me the other day, and it was just such a I mean, I'm sure you've heard stories like this before, and it was just, like, so interesting and such a testament to how a lot of people live with design, is that, someone was telling me about their sister-in-law and how like she was saying, well, first, like about 10 years ago, she had all those live, laugh, love quotes like all over her home. She goes, and then she went through the Joanna Gaines, like everything was shiplap, and now she's like changing it to this other thing that she saw like on social media. And so she's like constantly changing it based on like what trends are happening of the moment. And she's like, if she only just asked herself what she liked, maybe she wouldn't have to change her home every 2 years. And I was like, it's so true, because what other people like, or what is trending from what other people are doing is always going to be changing. And you can be inspired by it, but what's happening inside of yourself is probably changing a lot less often, even though we're all evolving. Our
Yeah.
true selves are probably going to change a lot less often.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
You're like,
Great.
maybe. I don't know.
Well, speaking of the chickens, but I love this. I always like, and it's a conversation I'd love to have, but it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I've never been able to actually figure that one out. But it's like
Speaking
when,
of the chickens,
yeah, just bring it on back to the girls. But the thing is, it's like when we start to work and become conscious in our environments, we do start to shift internally. Or when we start to shift internally, we consciously want to change our environment. So what really comes first? Or I think they can work in harmony together, or one definitely promotes the other. Because it's like if you've done all this work and all of a sudden you've healed a lot of trauma, and then you're coming from this place of love, and you look around, it's all stuff that you've been given that you don't like, you've got on sale, you don't like, you're like, actually, I deserve what I love in here. Or if you start to you just shift your home to creating more beauty, then internally it's like those vibrations want to match each other.
I love that so much. True. It's like that because you're on this like virtuous cycle, right? You can get onto the cycle, like you can jump in from either point. You can jump in from, I want to better myself. And so I want to use design as like a healing tool, right?
Yeah.
Or you can jump on and you want to be like, oh, I want to express myself through design. And then you're just like, oh, I'm learning about myself along the way. So they're absolutely interwoven and connected, and you can kind of jump on the wheel wherever it suits someone first, but it all leads to the same place, which it helps your consciousness evolve, and it helps your awareness of self and who you are to elevate.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so, what are some main things just for everyone listening today and they're just really excited by what you're sharing? What are, if you were to say, okay, here's three things I want to give you time to think about or to ask yourself or to look at, what would they be?
Yeah, I think the first thing, like, is if there's something you want to do in your home or for your life, the first question to ask yourself is like, what is the purpose? Right? So like, what is the purpose of why I might want to change something in my home? Or what is the purpose of like why I want to change something in my life? Right? And so you start with that purpose, that end in mind. So I think that's the first thing you ask yourself. And then when you have that clear, it could be as simple as like, I want to feel more calm in my office as I'm doing work. I have frenetic energy. Like I need to be more grounded. It starts there, right? And then once you have that, then you can start intentionally selecting things that bring that. Now, of course, you might want to know what those things are, which is why you'd want to work with a feng shui practitioner, or somebody like myself that does more intentional design. But, I know, Amanda, you do both. And then, there's a lot of information on the internet as well. But okay, I'm starting with like how I want to make this room feel and serve myself, right? So then you just say, okay, like I want it to be more grounding. So what things can I bring in that are grounding, right? And then a tip right now, thing you can bring in for grounding is anything that is of like the earth element, right? So you can bring in maybe you want to bring in some different colors that are more earth tones. Maybe you want to bring in some stone, some pottery, things like that. But it's also asking yourself, what makes you feel grounded in life? So it's like you just start with a question, how do I want this to serve? Next question, what are the things that make me feel that way? You can look some things up and see how you resonate with it, but you can ask yourself, what are the things that make me feel that way? And then try some of those things. And what you'll realize is even by having that thing in the room, because you were intentional about it, now it represents that to you. So now every time you look at that thing, you're like, oh, maybe I need to stop and take a moment to be more grounded because I put that thing in the room. So that's kind of the quick little system to do it, I would say.
That's amazing. And so I know you're doing all sorts of amazing things. What would you like to share with us? What's really exciting your soul right now that you're offering and that you're doing, sharing in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sharing myself in whatever platforms I can right now. Right now, I am on the Chopra meditation and well-being app regularly.
Amazing.
So, I'm leading meditations on there. And also, I'd say just follow me for anything new that's happening on my social media, mostly Instagram. My handle is a life of magic.
Love
Although I
that.
do have, an inspirational account, professional inspirational account for design, which is illuministaliving.com. At Illuminista Living is the social.
Brilliant. And
And,
we'll have all this in the show notes so they can just click on.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
so just follow me and meditate with me, and that's what I'd say. There'll be a lot of things coming out. There's nothing necessarily at the moment that I'm promoting, but, I would love if people follow me along the journey. It is ever evolving,
And
and
so much beauty that you create. So you got to get on there. And I
yeah.
feel like there's some exciting things coming up as well. Some more exciting things.
Yes, I mean, I'm happy to share that I'm working on a book right now, and, yeah, and so, hopefully in the next year, I'll be able to share the launch of the book, that's what I really am looking forward to, and it's all about intentional design and the Illuminista method of self-inquiry for self-expression, and in it, I give, the specific steps, specific pillars of intentional design that readers can go through, and also as well as self-inquiry, prompts as well. So it's a guided journey from self-inquiry to self-expression using intentional design.
So amazing. You're so amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. And we could just carry on chatting for
I
hours.
know, I'm like, "We were done?" We'll just talk more often. That's just what
Yeah,
we have.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for being here and sharing so much wisdom with us. So grateful. Thank you, my
And
love.
thank you for being a bright light in the world, and thank you for what you're teaching everybody with Feng Shui. Honestly, it was such a lovely experience, and I hope more people have it.
Oh, thank you. Well, Jamie and I would love to hear from all of you now. If you would like to share, what is it that's special in your space? What have you placed there intentionally that brings you that grounding, that comfort, that joy? We would love to hear from you. It inspires us as well. So reach out to Jamie, reach out to me. We'll chat about it, and we'd love to hear about your experiences. So thank you, my loves.